Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú
The Ashen Forge.
ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
The Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Diggs, and we are unfortunately missing Neuro, who has some personal things going on, so we wish him well. But yeah, we are here and we are ready to go. Node Wars.
Yes. Node Wars. Jump.
Jump? You're telling me to jump. Okay.
Yes. How are we talking about it? Go. How are you able to tell us about Node Wars?
Go,
what do you
go,
think
go.
about Node Wars?
All right, before
I'm
we
excited.
jump into everything, because we have a lot of, I think, new people probably are going to pop in, watch us from NARC. Appreciate NARC. It's been a crazy... I still have not watched the entire stream. I have got to the question component of the Node Wars, and that is where I've gotten. 1:30 hit my time Friday, and the NDA was released, and it has just been nothing but chatter ever since. So it has been very hard to fit in anything watching the video, but I've watched a good amount. I got to see myself die 3 times, so that's great.
Wait, how are you able to see yourself die? What does that mean?
Oh, you're just wanting me to say Steven killed me. That's fine.
No, I'm wanting you to say that you're in PI and you were able to play.
Well, we're getting there. I think most people know. But yeah, so I am in PI. I've only been in PI, gosh, not even 3 months now. So there was a Reddit post that blamed me and Envious for the state of Ashes of the last 7 years. I've only been there for 3 months, so I don't know what it's about. Anyways, it's been deleted. So a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, so I've been just super busy. Gosh, talked to Gladys.
Didn't it say something? Didn't it say something like Envious is gonna who's gonna fix it? They're gonna fix it instead of Envious?
I mean, just some dumbass. I mean, it's just some dumbass on Reddit. I don't know. Reddit's a shithole anyways. So
yeah.
Well, not all of Reddit, but a lot of Reddit.
Mm.
So but anyways, yeah, so gosh, talked to Gladys, talked to Narc. Appreciate him putting our information out there, and everybody that has joined us or will join us on the video replay from him. I love Narc. He gave me a lot of shit because we tend to follow different things about games, and I should have known that going in, but I promise next time I will be better. I will take notes. I will be prepared. Given we only have a couple more, I hope they do this again. My take on this has been the NDA lift has actually been a very positive experience. I think it's helped drive a lot of so we say hopium rather than doomium. But yes, yeah, so I'm free. Kind of for those of you who haven't watched this before, usually there are 3 of us. We tend to go over, well, I tend to stay kind of quiet because of BMPI, but we go over shows. This is going to be a little bit different. It's just me and Diggs. I do certainly have some talking points, but also if there are questions in chat, I've been a lot of places. I don't know how many questions even remain still. I've been in Discord. Anyway, I'll be with, gosh, Rive and Richie tomorrow, along with Chibi. I'll be with Tangents on Tuesday. So it's a crazy time in Ashes. But yeah, so I do want to kind of start by, well, first, we are here to have fun. So we are... a lot of people on the YouTube cut of my interaction with Narc, I think, said I was stuck up or an asshole or something. I'm really not. I think I was trying to play with Narc a little bit, and it probably came across better on the live stream than on the YouTubes, but we do like to actually just have fun and chat. We've been doing this, goddamn, how long? 10 years? 10 years. Started with EverQuest Next, traveled to Chronicles of Valyria, then moved on to Ashes of Creation. We have a
Revival. Don't forget Revival.
Well, the point being, God help you, Ashes of Creation and Steven, every game we've covered has not come to be. So I do not believe that to be the case with Ashes, but yeah. Yeah, we were bantering. I mean, it was a back and forth. I mean, he couldn't even get his shit set up to begin with, so it was bantering. I don't know. It was fun. It was out of the blue. There was no plan to actually meet with him. That was a hey, jump into Discord, and I did. So that's what that was. Also, there's been a little bit of very early on. Part of why it probably came across like it did too. There's been some confusion as to what can be talked about. So to recap that, it's anything. We were told anything related to nodes 1 through 6, the testing sessions, so node wars. So we had 6 testing sessions. We were told, hey, talk about anything that happened throughout those sessions. Later in the day, there was some sort of confusion. Yeah, we've heard other things from PI. Yeah, so later in the day, there was some confusion. Like there was, I think, a Discord message like somebody asked, can they talk about the character creator? The answer was no. And it really kind of got like, okay, what can we say? So that's also, I think, part of why you've had some hit or miss moments with PI, but a lot of that's been clarified to be basically anything we saw or experienced we can talk about. So
For Node Wars, anything
Node
related to
Wars
Node
1 through
Wars?
6. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but it's been fun. You know, I do want to point out, we and people are going to hate that I say this because I've said this before, but it's true. It's very true. We had very specific testing instructions, which is actually how I prefer to test. Um, I think I used PAX Day as an example when I was talking to Narc of a way not to do it. It's just like, hey, log in and go PvP. Like, well, like I want you to tell me, like, what am I testing for you? This was highly curated, and Intrepid has done a really good job about what they're wanting feedback on. And so I was getting asked a lot of questions, harvesting and crafting and
Mhm.
exploring the world, and that's not what we were testing. We were on a specific branch of the game. So what I like to say is there were obviously systems we tested very well because they're related to Node Wars, so skills and combat and all of that stuff. But yes, you could harvest, and I did, and yes, the Tetris bag worked, and there were all these other things that you could do, but we weren't testing them. So I think we can make observations about them. Don't know that you can make conclusions about them because, again, we were on a specific branch as well. I think they have multiple testing branches, and so who knows what's on these other branches. So that is probably why some of the questions that were asked of me were kind of answered flatly. But like I said, I have learned my lesson. I will take notes. It will be better next time. We don't have a lot of next time. There's what, 3 months until Q.
It was just 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Well,
Well,
actually, yeah, it's 1 month until Q3. So we have at least what, 3 shows, 4 shows. I think this has worked well. I hope that and they've not told us this. This isn't any kind of special information, but I do hope that they feel this went well, and so they let us start talking a little bit more and in the future. So.
Crow has a question that I would love for you to answer, which was how did the pacing of the battle feel in real time versus what came across in the update?
Um, that is a great question. So the battles itself, there were a lot of different components here, and it was probably a little bit hard to follow because you did have multiple different streams cutting back and forth. I like how they did it actually. Cutting away from Steven, you got to see Planendorf and all of these guys. It was great to play with the devs. The devs are fucking awesome. They are amazing. They listen, they chat. It's amazing to play with them, and they know
They
their shit.
trash talk. They trash talk.
Yeah, and they know their shit. So it was a lot of fun to play with them. So I did love actually that we got to see all these different approaches, so that people could see someone that really knew the ranger, someone that really knew the fighter, someone that really knew the cleric. But so there was a lot of like smaller skirmishes, right? So we had the big battle at the God Spike, but you also had to collect blood, and you also had to, you had to kill NPCs, you had to go harvest some blood rubies and bring them all back. So you did also have these smaller skirmishes kind of all over. So it was the best way to put it, very fast paced when combat was, well, it felt fast, but again, the TTK actually was not super quick, but it was a very busy fight, I guess is a good way to put it. There's a lot of stuff going on. The overall war that we had, those all took a long time. I mean, you're talking about hour-long fights. I mean, those were it was not quick to gather everything that you needed to gather, turn them in, and then start channeling Godspike, which inevitably led to a big fight in the for the Godspike. So there's also these micro battles and then this larger one. They felt really good. I promised I'll tell the story from the true story of Winstead. I have a thing written to recite and then answer questions as well. Yes, we were chosen to lose. I laughed when they put the poll up on the stream about who will win, and everyone that voted against Steven, how wrong were you? Like, why would you ever vote against Steven's team? Come on now. Although I think at the beginning he didn't even know whose team he was on, but yeah. So it's the combat was a lot of fun. I want to clarify again for folks who don't know me. I would say I'm more PvE player. But I certainly enjoy PvP. Looking at it from a game perspective, like I love right now playing NMS, but I jump into Smite. I've pre-ordered Smite too. So I like mixing PvP experiences. This shit was lit. This was fun. Like this was really fun. And by test 6, it worked very well. They had made several changes based off feedback. The clients were better. The servers were better. It was fun.
So I think you didn't mention the pacing though specifically.
Pacing. I mean, there's multiple
I don't know.
pacings going on. So
I guess so. For me, it seemed too much like a shooter. It was too fast. Although, given that, I especially hate the Ranger machine gun and the laser rifle. But given the speed that I saw in the video, it makes sense that they have the TTK so low. So did it seem frantic and fast paced to you, or did it just seem good and comfortable?
no, I mean I mean there were some there's a lot of learning each other. When we started these nodes wars, you have a bunch of people you don't really play with very regularly, so it very much was like a pug. By test 6, we knew each other very well. Like the teams had pretty much stayed the same throughout the entire 6 sessions. So we got to know people very well. God, I'm losing my fucking train of thought. I don't even know where I was going with that. Sorry. What'd you ask? This has been my brain for like the whole weekend.
Yeah, no, just pacing. You said that there's different paces, and it depends.
Yeah, I mean,
I
to put it in
think,
perspective, that video, I don't know how they cut it apart. We actually ran 2 different node wars that Friday Friday when we tested and when they recorded. There were actually 2 different sessions that went on. We were there for 6 hours. That was the longest. Most of these were 3, and that was a solid 6. I think at the end of that, my stats, because they did spit out stats, I think I had something like 8 kills, 8 deaths, 42 assists. So I mean, I didn't die a whole ton for a long period of time, as long as we were testing. So
so Crow wanted to know about how quickly you would respawn after you died, if it was
pretty quick.
instantaneous.
Yeah, I mean, you get your box pop up. I don't know. There's 5-second delay, maybe 10, but I don't remember exactly. I didn't count, but it was pretty brief. And then we respawned at the camps. So we spawn at camps, which do not exist unless a war is going on. So, you would respawn back at those camps. That's also where you turned everything in. Positioning of the camps to the central area, Godspike. Team Winstead did probably have a slight advantage in a distance. Miraleth was probably just a little bit further away, but they were closer to some of the rubies and things like that. Yeah, Max, that camps were pretty close. That is true. It really did not take long to run back, but I also think that you have to keep in mind, like, it wasn't just the God Spike, and probably when you have such a big fight going on for the God Spike, it makes sense to be closer to it. To get to some of those gems, some of those places where we had to mine, I mean, they were pretty decent distances away. It took a minute to get there.
Also, again, this was a setup for testing. It's not necessarily indicative of distances, are not necessarily indicative of what that would be like, I would imagine.
Specs. I made them so specs. So I do have a 4060. I recognize that is probably higher than the average. And then I have God, was it 70? I have an AMD processor. So I mean a pretty good rig. Not the like not a $10,000 rig, but pretty good rig. On purpose. Side note, I have a really fun computer. It's actually a giant ass desk that I had built for me. It houses 2 computers inside of it with a glass top. Um, and yeah, so I can actually just easily lift it up, replace things as I need to. So 4090 is too much money for me. So anyways, but yeah, I did do DLSS at the end. They had us turn it on. Frame rate 100% improved. For those who could use it, it was a huge plus. I mean, I want to say, gosh, 80s Fupo, who had a much better PC than I did, was getting, I think he was saying 120s frame rates. I don't know. He had like a crazy rig though. So, yeah, the overall performance improved dramatically. That very first day logging, I think there was a question. Where was it? Oh, about walking in, like the first time running in. God, I need a bot or something to track all of these. Oh, it's from Beryl. The first tests were where you were headed to the objective for the first time. Were you excited? Yeah, I mean, when you're getting in there, it's a lot of fun. The first test, though, I'll be honest, sucked. It was terrible. It was rough. There was a memory leak monster that was just horrible. Like, I mean, it used up every bit of your RAM and then crash, and that was pretty consistent for everyone. A lot of stutter, a lot of rubber. There were a lot of client issues, a lot of server issues, which made it very difficult. There were certainly for God Spike fights where you have everyone in the middle. Those first couple of tests were just painful. You'd sort of lose to the server, and but also the very beginning of all of this, the tanks have a tank wall, which is an incredible ability. It's a lot of fun. I actually got picked off because of it a few times. Um, Initially, their tank wall actually had a stun, and so when you combined, and there's no diminishing returns on CCs yet. So, if the other side had 5 or 6 tanks and you were trying to get to that God Spike, all they had to do was like wall, and you were stunned the whole time, and then the server would get you. So initially, it very much sucks. But by test 6, I had almost no problems. I think the only when I would respawn in after dying, I respawn at the camp. Sometimes there was some lag there, and I'm not sure if that's just putting me back in the world or what it was. There was noticeable lag, but that was pretty much it. Once I got down the hill, we were good. So everybody, I'm usually also more chatty in the chat, and I apologize for all of you who I'm not getting back to. I am talking too much to try to pay attention to everything all at once. So
I think you're getting it. I think you're getting it. What was my other observation? So I did in speed, because for me, just everybody racing around was too fast for me. I wish it was a little slower. I did a comparison with New World to see what the New World PvP looked like, and it seems like New World is a little bit slower. But the thing that I liked more about New World was that the reticles, the AoE reticles, seem to the telegraphs. I mean, the AOE telegraphs seemed to stay on the ground longer, and it was easier to see. Like, it was easier for me to look over and say, "Oh, that effect is over there. I might want to do something." It seemed like what we saw on Friday. Um, Except for the ice ones, by the time I looked over to see a telegraph on the ground, it was disappearing. Like, everything was just effect, 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 effect. And it seemed like super fast. So did you mostly play your rotations? How did you synergize with other people in your group, noticing what they did and
Yeah.
say, they did that, so I'm going to do this?
So before I answer that question, there was another one, Cotrello, if I'm saying that correctly. Would you say a month to improve those problems with a quick turnaround? Yes, they improve. I mean, it was night and day. I feel like that was fast. You know, they're constantly hiring. They are still hiring. Stephen was actually, I think, late to our recording session because he was actually interviewing people that day. So, you know, and server stability wasn't the only thing, and client stability wasn't the only thing that improved. I mean, I mentioned the tank wall, the layout of the node, like it was very different to start with. They changed a lot of how the whole thing was laid out based off what we gave feedback on. So yes, I think their turnaround was tremendous. That's also why I think that, you know, I've been asked the question, well, what about Q3? And there's a lot of, you know, it's going to be delayed. It's going to be delayed. As fast as they worked through all of those issues, because that first test was horrible. It was terrible. I have nothing but optimism for what they can do as they continue to bring more and more people on. So it is alpha, so we got to keep that in mind. You know, there are going to be problems. There will be server problems. You know, we only had 70-ish people in there doing this. They have, as well, we know 100,000 plus people waiting to get into Alpha 2. You know, so can I speak to that? No. You know, I have tested with 69 other people, but when we were in there, even with the God Spike fights, it was very clean. It ran very well. Sorry, I have completely forgot what you just asked me.
Which? Me?
Yes, New World. You were talking about New
Oh,
World.
yeah, I was talking about the telegraphs. How quickly did how was your synergizing with
Yes.
other players, like
So I
noticing
was
what they did?
Yeah, so I was a battle priest. So I actually played very different than a lot of the other people. I think I was the only one that actually took that. Thank you for the raid, Hades on Holiday. We appreciate you. We are in here talking about Ashes of Creation, trying to answer questions. We have a lot of time, so we will try to get to everybody's questions. If I miss your question, just keep putting it in chat, and we will eventually get to it, I promise. The synergies, you know, I had a little bit different of an approach. So I wasn't sitting back line with the other healers, you know, healing people up front. I was actually front line. So my synergies, kind of when you're talking about what I'm doing with other people, was largely purely heals, right? So I'm up there. I spec specifically into AoE heals, some self kind of sustaining stuff. And then other than that, my goals were, you know, some of the damage spells and just whacking at them with my weapon, which actually seemed to work very well. So there is, and I'm forgetting the name of it. There is a spell that we have access to. Oh shit, what's the name of it? Chains of Restraint that can apply a stagger and a stun. I actually didn't spec into that. I want to obviously further explore this battle priest. It was a whole fucking lot of fun. So I want to keep going for it. That one, it would be more interaction, right? Because you're paying more attention to other status effects. But one of the nice things about the skill tree is you actually had to make meaningful choices, right? So I think there's a lot of games as you're going through a skill tree, it's sort of like, all right, I got to pick these two to get to the one I actually want. And these two don't really mean anything. 100% not the case here. Like I actually had to make some pretty tough choices. Like what do I want to go with? What do I not want to go? Do I want to stun or not want to stun? You know, if I gave up the stun, if I took the stun, then I was going to have to give up one of the AoE heals. Or the divine power that we have, being able to use it to actually cast spells when I'm out of mana, because mana was an issue. It was much bigger issue to start with, still an issue by test 6. It was very busy, I will say that. I think everybody that played would probably agree there's a lot of effects, a lot of spells, a lot of flashy stuff going on. that can make it a little bit challenging when you're in there, especially clustered all together. And I think the feedback that has been given for that is, hey, some of this could probably be improved and toned down a little bit. So
Well, again, I think my problem was not so one. My problem was mostly even just the flitting around, the how fast you flit around the um, battlefield, but everyone flitting around, not just blinks and rushes and all that stuff, but just the running in general was too fast paced for what I like. But um, also, I guess the flashes themselves were fine. It's just that the effects of them didn't last long enough for me to be able to um, respond to them, is what it felt like to me. I wouldn't be able to go, oh, that guy just cast whatever, so I'm going to cast in that same location. The effects seemed to be gone before I would have time to react to it. But speaking of how you're speccing into Battle Priest and meaningful choices, um, how did it feel respecking might go? Because I prefer to spec very strongly and have my characters have strengths and weaknesses such that they're not going to keep changing their build all the time. So, for instance, when I was playing Neverwinter Online, I was specifically an ice wizard, and people would get mad at me for not taking on I think the repel. They had a repel magnetism thing that I did not spec into because I was an ice wizard, not a repel wizard. But they were like, oh, but if you go into this dungeon, everybody knows that you have to use repel abilities if you're a wizard here. So respec your character into this. Um, so I would much prefer making those decisions like you were saying and doing healing and not taking the other. What was the damage sustaining one? What was the one that you said? There's this one spell that you would use to synergize with other people, restraining something.
oh, chains of
Chain.
restraint. Yeah, it's a CC, a stun. I did
Hmm.
not. I mean, that is very hard to say, right? Because in a testing environment like we had, all I had to do was like right click and pop off and go like a new one. It was a very easy respec. That's obviously not going to be the plan. You're going to not be able to do that in combat. You're going to have to go back somewhere to a node or something,
Hmm.
find somebody to let you do it. So you obviously won't be able to do that. But your choices do have meaning. Like I said, I had to make some pretty significant decisions. Didn't have a lot of time. So that's the other thing for people to understand the process. Um, we logged in. The process was essentially, hey guys, we get a ping, servers up, log in, uh, and we would do that. Um, and then, um, sorry, did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right. Anyways, we would log in, create a character. Didn't have a lot of options. We had some things we could change a little bit. I think some people saw Vex had different colored hair and stuff like that. Did not have the full character creator available to us. You log in. We logged into this kind of this unfinished place, jump down, run over to the NPC. It was what, Guy Gieri, I think is what they named him. Get your experience scroll to go up to level 15. Get any items that you wanted, your weapons, and then you would pick your skills. Then you would go to a teleporter that would put you either in Winstead or in Miraleth. And then they would begin the event. So there also was not like a lot of like downtime. There wasn't a lot of like, let me explore these different things. I mean, you had to be kind of pretty quick about it. Part of what allowed me to be a battle priest is I did choose to actually take like mail items. But for example, I didn't have chance really to get in and play with plate, or what if I mixed plate and mail? Um, but these are also placeholder equipments, right? So they're not something that's I think really representative of what will be there. So I just want to always point that out too. We didn't have like a lot of time to just sit back and kind of mull over what we want to do. It was pretty focused tests. Servers would go down in between. They'd have to reset after the first. Usually we get into wars, and so they'd have to reset. So you'd have to log out, log back in, start all over again. So that was a long. Did we get to use skill trees? I mean the character ones. Yeah, I mean I had access to all of the cleric skill trees. I did only play cleric. That's the other thing too. I think a couple of people did try fighter. They tried ranger. I was really focused in just trying to figure out one class right now, and see how that went. So server crashing during wars is not good. What happens if there is multiple wars at once on a server? That's a good question. I can't really speak too much. We only had one war going at that time, right? So I don't really know. You know, it is what it is. We are supposed to get what did Steven say? The next stream is more of a tech heavy stream, so I think everybody's going to enjoy. At least the techies will enjoy that. You know, the servers are going to have issues. That's just going to happen. But I have a lot of confidence in them. You know, we've been doing this show since 2017, and I'll be the first to admit I think all of us at times our I don't want to say faith in the game, but I think we've all varied, right? At times of like, all right, it's been this long, it's this, it's that. This was a great experience. I can't say enough high things about Intrepid. Getting to work with the devs, getting to talk with them afterwards. Even this weekend, seeing a lot of them popping into different streams. Fupo's been everywhere. I think I've talked with Fupo more this weekend than I ever have.
Fupo's always
Planendor's
here.
also been in a lot of streams. So I think we're almost there, guys. We're it's coming. It really is. So you're not a dev, just a small black cat. No, Fupo is the best tank. So if you ever need a solid tank, go kidnap him. Kidnap Fupo. I tried to, but we were unfortunately on separate teams. I think Fupo killed me a few times, but I'll have to return the favor.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I enjoyed doing in terms of
5
synergy, and
times.
somebody mentioned that you're able to use the cleric can use their AOE through walls, and I think that was the case in A1 as well. But to synergize, one of the things I liked doing in the A1 sieges was using hallowed grounds. And we had like 3 people at the gate, and so we would just as one would go down because you can't keep it up all the time. So ones would expire, and then the second person would. With 3 of us there, we could keep hallowed ground on the same spot continuously. So by the time the third ones went down, the first one had their cooldown had expired, so they could recast it. So that was one way that we were able to do that even without reticles lasting super long. But I don't think I saw anything other than the ice one lasting as long as hallowed ground used to. Did you have hallowed ground in your skill tree?
Uh,
It's an AL, or it was an ALE heal.
no, I mean it's not listed in Wiki either, so I don't know if it's been changed to a different name that you're thinking
Hmm.
of, but
No, it could have been taken out. I
yeah, I mean
think I had not seen it recently either, but you know, I don't know if we have, because when he plays, we don't necessarily see the full skill tree, right? You had more skills probably than you could fit
mm,
on your bar.
oh yeah, I had more than I could use. They auto-filled for you, so you know, you clicked your skills and it just popped in.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, sorry, chat. Tank is in probably the best place right now. Now, I will say that throughout all of this, there was never anybody that said, "Hey, this class is shit." Not once. Like everybody is happy with where the classes and the combat are. Obviously, it's alpha. It still needs improvement, and there's still things that can be improved. But nobody was unhappy with, solidly unhappy with any of these classes. So,
And speaking of classes, you mean primary archetypes. As far
yes.
as you could tell, Were there any augments available?
No, we did not have augments to test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had no augments in this build. So someone did
And
ask me like, what would I pick as a battle cleric? I mean, not knowing what's there, what I would love to see is there is since I am up front more, I would love to have more melee interactions. Certainly, there's some spell smite and some other stuff that do damage, but I would love to have a sweeping kind of cone AOE one-handed mace swing that stuns or knocks back or something. I would love to see that as a secondary augment. So was fighter useful in mass PvP, or did it killed easily when it dived in? You know, fighter was one that I think the people who played it kind of have some mixed feelings. You know, there were some of the devs that played it very well, and others that kind of felt not sure where. Yeah, Dread was, I mean, played super well. You know, and then there were some of the PI that kind of weren't sure where you really put the fighter. Like, are they intended to be frontline? Are they supposed to jump to the back? Like, so I think that's something that probably needs some work, is just kind of really filling out where they fit in the process. It's kind of funny because I don't know if everyone remembers the fighter the fighter showcase. I think everybody like was initially, holy shit, OP, what's going on here? They're OP. And then we get to actual PvP session. And that's probably the one where most people were like, hey, what's going on with the fighter? They don't look as, I think there's a general concern that sort of rose up about our melee kind of gimped compared to some of the range. But then you also had, you had your rangers that were back there also putting in work. So I think you also had some skewed views here. Like Keenan was back there. I mean, you got some devs that really know their shit. I hope to play with them in the future. But as a cleric, did you feel squishy when being attacked on the front line? No, not at all. But again, I was wearing different armor. The armor I used, I spec'd into things that are more physical, sort of physical damage, constitution-based stuff. I did sacrifice mana for that, and I did feel that. I did have some mana issues. Not terrible. The mana issues were much worse at the beginning of testing. They were better a little bit towards the end. We have access to a spell called Blessed Weapon that you can put on others that sort of DPS-based. It's a mana regen based off attacks. So, when used appropriately, that actually did help mana quite a bit. The mana thing's really hard to understand or get a good feel for right now because we don't have Bard. How the Bard factors into all of this, it's just really hard to say. I certainly had times where I had to go sit. I had to sort of duck out, go hide somewhere, sit down for a few seconds just to regain what I could, and then come back out. But being on the front line, I mean, I specifically spec'd into I took an approach where I wasn't squishy. So 1v1, I could probably last all day, at least until I ran out of mana. And even then, it's probably questionable. So take that for what you will. Now, on a 1v1, am I really going to be able to kill anyone currently? No, I didn't feel that way, not on my own. And like I said, my stats were very clearly represented that, right? 8 deaths, 8 kills, 42 assists. So really up on the front line, it's more assisting the damage as I can. I think I did something like 12k damage and like 70 something k heals. So really up there, I am doing some damage. Now I'm not doing fighter damage, but I'm supporting them with some extra damage, and I did get some kills. But it's more so healing them. I would love to see an approach where I also get, again, this is where Bard, it's just really hard to know what to ask for. But we talk about secondary augments. I would love to see something where I can also, rather than just heal the front line, actually give them something, some sort of inspiration or some sort of buff or, something to help them in their combat.
What node level do you think the node was at where you were battling?
Well, I mean, it was a village,
3,
right?
4? I don't know.
I think
Was
it's
it
3.
only a village?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
just
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
again, it's hard to say. We had to run. I left that part out. So you log in. Sorry, create your character, log in, run, get your gear, get your level increased, port to just outside Winstead, and then you did run to Winstead or to Miraleth in order to get citizenship. You had to be declared a citizen, and in order to participate in the war, so we had to do that. And then we would run. Then war was declared. We would run to the camp, and you would sort of start there. The nodes they had some buildings, they had NPCs running around, was I interacting with a lot of them? No. There wasn't, the build we were on, just there wasn't anything to really interact with. So again, you can ask me questions like that, like, hey, what about the node and the caravansary and all of these things and the crafting? And I wish I could give you answers, but that's not what we tested. So. Yeah, 4 to 6 won't be at the start of A2. Hey, Vladis, how's it going? Yeah, it's fun though. Do you think Cleric would be fun doing solo grinding? I could take so that's a good question. So when we're not talking, I actually didn't finish answering the first question. So on a 1v1, I think Cleric, at least in my build, would be hard to kill. I could actually even sustain pretty well going up against 3, 4, 5 people. I could persist long enough, for my colleagues, my group to get to me, right? So that wasn't like a 3-second kill on me. I could actually persist pretty decently, and then you start acting in, you had an active blocking and the shield and everything I had. Now, when I have 10 people focus firing me, no, that's yeah, I'm going to pretty much die in a matter of seconds. You actually saw that. I think I died 3 times on stream. 2 of them were to large groups, although one was from Steven's vantage point, so it looks like it was just him that killed me. I need a shirt that says, yes, I was killed by Steven. And then he also killed me with a mount dive bomb once. But to go back to, so yes, Battle Cleric at least felt very sustainable. I actually did kill Chibi, so, I'm not going to rub that in, but, Cleric versus Cleric. Now, I tried to get Planendorf, and I chased him several times, but he always ran away. So, as far as fighting just regular old NPCs, we did have to fight for the blood. That I had no problem. I think as far as PvE content, if you're not, as long as you're not like going up against bosses on your own, if it's just your sort of average NPCs, I mean, I actually took 2 or 3 at a time. Really wasn't a problem. Am I going to kill as fast as a ranger or a fighter? No, but I mean, I really had no problems with being killed by the I forget the names of the mobs that we had, but the NPCs. To start with, it was a pain in the ass because the way they had it set up, there were dozens of these NPCs around the God Spike, and so they weren't spread out around the camp like they were in the final build. And so that got really crazy because you had the other team coming to fight you PvP, and then you had all these back spawns of the NPCs trying to kill you too. So some of the feedback that was given was, hey, this is a little too much. This isn't fun. And so that's where then they started putting them out around, and you had sort of kill teams go and gather the blood. So again, feedback. I also, after we finished each session, we got to sit with the devs, and they would ask us questions, and we would answer them. So it worked very well, and they actually made very positive changes. And I want to say too, it's not like you have a group of PI who are always thinking the same thing either. So it's not like you have this group that are trying to railroad everyone into a very specific way of playing. You really, you have different thoughts. You have different people saying, yes, that I agree. No, I don't agree. So the system works, really well. Do you feel your feedback was mostly shitty, and better testers will be providing better feedback? I'm sure there will be people providing different feedback, sure. You got some people that really get deep into it, right? So I know people don't like to talk about Envious, but DA, Yokai, I mean, they really know their shit. They provide some really good feedback. Mine's not going to be the same as theirs. They've come up PvP guild. I know, joke, but I'm going to answer it because I've been asked that several times. Or the narc YouTube, I think it says several times. I just give shit feedback. My feedback will be different. So again, that's why I want everyone to realize it's not just like one mind trying to focus right the game. My standpoint always comes from the person that largely PvEs but wants to PvP from time to time, and that's how I present my feedback. So actually, that was a highly discussed component, right? So we have some very different opinions, very different camps on how much do you include PvE targets in a PvP event. The people who are very much PvPers, that's what they want, right? That they're solidly in that camp. When they think of Node War, they think of PvP. I think are worried about the amount of PvE that's sort of introduced into some of these events. It's an
Yeah,
interesting conversation.
looking at the demo on Friday reinforced my belief that PVX is meaningless. It basically just means that PvPers will have to do some PvE, but it's all going to be PvPers playing. It's a PvP. Oh, you know what I loved about the stream was the beginning of the dev stream where Margaret showed us how pregnant she is. She showed us her nice big belly. She's gonna have a prize coming soon. And Steven said, "Oh yeah, a new PvPer to join the ranks is coming soon."
Yeah.
It's like, PvPer because Ashes is a
Demon Hunter.
PvP game. It's a PvP game.
Yes, that's it. I
It's
know.
for PvPers.
Look, y'all, I say this all the time. And I don't, and this, I always preface this. Diggs will tell you this. Because I brought Ashes to them back in 2016, I don't know, end of 2016, 2017. Said, guys, you should look at this. I've been okay with PvP ever since. Has it changed? Yes, but a little bit. But like the whole, I'm sold, right? Node Wars. When we want the next thing as far as world building, world change, it only makes sense that PvP is involved. 100% agree.
That used to be the case, but not really now. You can change the world through seasonal DLCs. And
Yeah, but I want
that
player
should
agency. I
only
want
have been.
player-driven change, not developers saying, "Hey, it's August. Let's put this in." Um, so, um, so I'm sold on this, but I'm also I feel like I'm realistic in this, and that I don't really want Ashes to be a niche game, and I could be incredibly wrong here. By the way, I could be entirely wrong. I feel like you want these PvP player or PvE players to be somewhat a component, right? And so, I don't know. I hate it when I hear blanket things like it's a PvP game or maybe this game isn't for you. I feel like that's like such bad messaging. Like let them get in and play. They might let them figure that out on their own.
Oh,
Um,
they'll figure it out pretty quickly.
I mean, I love this, Sticks. This was fun. This was lit. This
I know
was,
you enjoy PvP more than I do,
and I didn't mind dying.
and I
Like
think.
I
And
loved it.
Well, but for me, Node Wars is fine. Sieges are fine. I enjoyed Sieges a lot, and I like PvP. I don't like non-consensual PvP. Node Wars are pretty much consensual PvP. You know what's coming up, but oh, we should talk about objectives because we did also see in the demo, kind of like I said, you can't just declare war anytime you want to. It's primarily based on reputation, so you have to have a negative enough reputation with the node before the mayor has the option of declaring war. So it's not just at the mayor's whim completely. Uh,
Yeah, I
there
mean,
has to be some.
there's relationship issues, right? Yeah. I actually had a very interesting question from this, and kind of got an answer from Planendorf earlier in the Yokai chat, but um, Yeah, so if the relationship gets to a point where you want to declare war to stop the advancement of your neighboring node, um, the interesting question is we've been told from the commission stream that mayoral commissions can be completed by non-citizens. The difference between non-citizens and citizens are that they do not generate oh hell, I'm forgetting the word. Mandates. Citizens generate mandates, non-citizens do not. And so what's interesting here is that this was sort of pitched as, your citizens have to show their approval, right, of your war declaration by completing these commission quests in order to actually get to a state of actually declaring war. And now I don't know that this is going to come up. It's a unique situation. I don't know that it happens, but when you allow, I'm curious if they're going to allow non-citizens to do that, because you could obviously potentially have a scenario where a mayor wants to do something, brings in non-citizen friends, they complete it, even if and so a war happens, even if the citizens don't want it. Now maybe that mayor doesn't stick around long afterwards, but I don't know. That was an interesting question that I had that maybe next stream will get answered, but just as far as that declaration component and completing the commissions. So trying to, but yeah, we're not going to get into that just yet. Anyways, I did not mean to start a PvE discussion if that's what I did. I guess I did do that, didn't I?
Not really.
Gosh, I was going to take that somewhere else. So I actually feel the previous discussion, I actually felt like the PvE objectives were great. They made things feel much better. It fit in very well. So I actually had no problem. The feedback I sort of get is when we start, because I will always say, well, you know how people are going to feel if you say, well, I want less PvE in my PvP, but I want the same amount of PvP in your PvE. And I fully agree it should be it's a PvX game. And I actually use that argument when people start saying, well, we want less PvE in our PvP. It's like, well, it's a PvX game. I mean, that's what everyone keeps saying. So that's what it is. Do you have some skill in gathering that resource? So anyone can gather the blood or the gems, the rubies. Is it rubies? Anyone can do it. But there is now this was not in our testing, but you will be able, so if you have someone that has taken up, say, mining as a profession or a skill, and if they have benefits to that mining ability, that will apply to objectives like this. So yes, it could be potentially very beneficial to bring in your friends, your people who like to really go out and harvest. Now, you will have to keep them protected, right? Because even though this is a PvP event, right? So we do not lose. We're free of a lot of the death. I want to say death problems.
Yeah, death penalties.
Death
I
penalties.
think you just drop some loot. You drop loot.
You drop
You drop
materials.
resources.
Which makes sense, right? You have to, because one of the reasons to kill, like this happened to me. I don't think this was Fupo. It might have been DA, but yes, I was fighting DA, and then a group of like 5 other people came up with him, and I died. And I actually did have some of that resource on me, and I dropped it, right? And that should happen because that's part of the whole reason for the PvP, right? They want to kill me so they can get what I've harvested, and that makes sense in that scenario. Gosh, so I think a lot of people joined because they were wanting me to tell this story of Winstead. I've promised to tell it. I think there have been some hints of it along the way. Is that what something anybody would want to hear, or do you want to keep me answering questions? Hey, Steven's in the chat. I don't think he's actually chatted.
Tell us a story. Tell us a story.
I wish Steven would chat here because Steven, I owe you. I'm never going to live that down. Never going to live that down. Getting called out. I can't tell you how much my Discord pinged the moment I died, and Steven said, Fant MX. Oh, so anyways. Yes, I owe you. Gosh, I had wrote this in a way. I wanted to actually turn this into some sort of video. So forgive me, but I'm going to start with a memory, a written text. I truly believe this is we talk about the lore of Vera. I think this is the first step in that, and I would ask the devs actually include this in the history of Vera, because this was a big battle. This culminated in a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of shit talking. We also, one fun note is we got to listen to them record it. So we obviously were all in Discord chat. We had to communicate with each other, but we also got to listen to them actually record the show, and so we also got to hear what some of the devs thought about how things were going, and it was just a lot of fun. So I'm going to start. This is probably going to be stupid, but we're going to start with this because I wrote it. It said, Winstead citizens, allies, friends, enemies of Miraleth, let us celebrate our brethren. Let us celebrate those that fought so valiantly in your name. You have been told a tale of the battle for Highwayman Hills, but you have not been told the tale. The ruling overlords would have you believe Miraleth crushed us under the heel of their boot. They have even shown you a vision of this lie. But friends, do not believe what you see. With the guidance of our fearless leader Z and our intrepid mayor, Luperza, we fought valiantly. We fought with a vigor that Miraleth has never seen before. They trembled at our strength. They ran from our blades. They could not break the siege no matter how hard they tried. They pushed, and despite our souls being weary and our flesh stained with their blood, they retreated back to their home of Miraleth. Make no mistake, my friends, we won that day without question. But Miraleth is treacherous and sneaky and cast a spell of coercion on us, your valiant army. We tried to resist, and at times resist we did. However, it was ultimately too much. Miraleth did channel the Godspike, that is true. However, upon finishing the channel, the spell was broke, and all of Miraleth perished under our strength. Raise your swords, let the banners fly. Winstead's might will never die. End story. I'll explain that. So, if you go back to the show and you watch, they did finish channeling the Godspike. What you might have also heard is Steven say, "Oh, we're losing." That's because every one of them died. As soon as that was done, they had done their deed. We had done as we were told. Winstead, yes, Winstead, win is key, wiped them completely away from the Godspike. It was actually quite hilarious. We fought very well together. I mentioned that we had 6 tests together, more or less. I think I was on Miraleth basically once or twice, but for the most part, I got to know everybody that was on my team. Z is basically a god, by the way. Directed us, split the groups where to go. You guys go do Bloods. You guys go do Rubies. They could not get to us. It was amazing how we worked together. I think Miraleth would tell you that their problem was organization, that they had too many people doing whatever they wanted to do. And that might be the case, but I can tell you, we were fighting at the Godspike. We were waiting for them to come because we were recording. This is actually the first recording. And we were fighting and we were fighting and we were winning. We were winning and we were winning. And finally we started hearing in our ears, like, stop, slow down, let them enter. They talked about some choke points. So there are actually several choke points in that area that worked very well as choke points. The tank wall also, by the way, works very well for sort of directing traffic. And so they... we had them at this choke point pretty well beaten. It was, I'll be honest, talk to anyone that was on Winstead, it was not even close. It was not even close. We had Margaret telling us, we need to let them in. So we did. We started even just running up to them saying like, hey, kill us. And we would still kill them. And then finally we got to where we were just standing there and they actually canceled that first recording to reset because they were getting nowhere. So Winstead was 100% the victor. That second recording, we also had to sort of slowly let things kind of creep in. I don't think that was happening when Steven killed me. I've been asked that question. I'm trying to remember what happened. I think I turned the corner and it was this weird instance of like, I know they're recording and here's Steven in front of me. Like, what the fuck do I do? Like, do I try to attack him? Like, am I not supposed to attack him? Because he's probably talking. And then I sort of backed up a little bit and I was dead. So, but he did have people around him. So, anyone, so yes, the Miraleth 100% were outmatched completely. Yes, Fupo, I know I've told this story and you were not there. I will agree. You would have 100% helped. But that was 100% a Winstead victory.
Yeah. We
100%.
saw it. We saw it. We were there. We watched it.
What do you mean we watched it? You didn't get to watch that.
Yeah, we did.
You
It
watched
was very
Winstead
obvious.
win?
I mean, kind of, but we could see the shenanigans.
That's what was so funny, though. The game was rigged from the start. Yes, we knew who was going to win. Because they have to tell a story,
but
right?
No. That was funny because I thought I knew who was going to win, and then it seemed like Margaret's team was going to win. They were winning, and then all of a sudden they didn't. So no, we saw the shenanigans. They tried to edit around that stuff, but it was pretty clear.
The game is lit, guys. It is so much fun. I can't even express to you, even in death, it was fun. So I think we're in a very good place for this. I 100%.
I mean, again, I enjoyed sieges during Alpha 1, so I'm not surprised that they have 3 years in between to make it still be fun.
I think I think there was even a point. I'm trying to remember what was said during the recording, but it had to be explained to Steven that their team was just losing terribly bad. And that's why they had to take a break and kind of reset. And because he kept like during the recording, he kept like, well, we're not getting anywhere. What's going on? Why are we're not at the God spike yet? What's going on? And like it had to be explained. It's because your team kind of sucks right now. That's why. I'll admit it was fun. It was fun getting to kill them over and over again. But yeah, so Winstead, I really think that should be the first entry of lore, even though it's on a testing server. That was a lot of fun. And there were some heated moments, some yelling of stop. You guys didn't stop. So.
Yeah, I think there might be even there. Are there that many people on Vera already? Have that many people that we saw in the test gone through the portals? Yeah, I think everybody was surprised that Steven lasted as long as he did in the first place without dying. I mean, it's not like we don't know what
we were level 15. He was level 30. He had some nice gear. But I actually want to point out, I'm kind of being facetious when I say that. I mean, Steven died. He died on stream.
It took a while. We were like, he's still alive?
It took a while, but one of the nice things that I want to point out that I think people will appreciate, because this actually has come up before in the forums. I think there's been questions about this. Like, well, what about, this came up during caravans. What if you have a level 20 caravan and a level 40 person comes up to it? Like, are they just going to wipe everyone out? Right. That was a question that has kind of come up. What we saw with this, though, was that a well-organized group of level 15s that kind of worked together very well, knew what they were doing, could very easily take out, at least in this instance, a level 30 with legendary gear. So I thought that was nice to see that you can actually fight back. Now, how high does that scale? I don't know. Could a group of 15s kill a 40, kill a 50? I don't know. We didn't test that. But in this instance, we were able to focus fire people down, which is nice. Yeah, being able to take out people who are 10 plus levels higher is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it took coordination. And I actually think that's why Winstead did so well, right? There was a lot of discussion about this. Again, this was an interesting battle. There was a lot of trash talking, and fun. But
Trash talking is never fun. I'm out.
well,
Keep
that's
going.
fine. Goodbye. There was a lot of conversation, like, why was it so one-sided? Because this was like super one-sided. Ultimately, I think it was just that Winstead actually were playing. They had better shot callers. Like their people were saying where to go and what to do, much better than Miraleth did, and that just worked out very well. But that does. There were some questions of class composition as well. It was roleplay trash talk, i.e., I'll give you a drubbing you won't soon forget. Yes, it was, like I said, playful. There was not like heated moments. I don't want it to come across like we were trying to cut each other's throats. Steve and I owe you, by the way. But it was great. This was in a really wonderful place. And I can't look forward. I'm just super looking forward to like continuing this on. I keep in my head just going back and forth, like especially with that last fight. What if I had spec this way? What if I had spec that way? Right? Like, there's also a damage component to the stun. Like, what if I had given up one group heal so that I could have access to that skill, which would have been beneficial up front. Like I didn't not choose it because it's not something I would use. It was just the trade-off that I took. So I am like super excited about trying to figure out all of these things. Yeah, I hope, like I said, if Stephen is still listening, I hope that we all feel like this NDA lift has been super beneficial. And I hope that maybe sometime in the next couple of months it happens again. Can someone successfully teabag a pile of ashes? We can certainly try. Certainly can try. But yeah, now this what do you think about the health bars? This was another thing that sort of has been a lot of conversation back and forth, in favor, not in favor, in the PvP scenario. I actually thought it was a lot of fun. I was sort of skeptic initially when it was sort of announced, hey, this is the approach we're going to take, and trying to just obscure some of that information. I can tell you in their playing with those health bars actually made it more fun. You would see someone drop right to a quarter left, or you saw them at a quarter, and there's sort of this drive to finish them off, right? You don't know if it's gonna, if your next spell's gonna hit, whether it's gonna work, but you have enough information to keep wanting to go after them. But then also, all of a sudden they get a heal and they go up to 2 bars, 3 bars, and it's like, oh, okay. And that actually in turn sort of brings this sort of, oh, maybe I should stop following them and turn around. So I don't know how everyone feels about the health bars. I have grown to very much enjoy them. So we did not test PvP specific gear. So the gear we had.
There is no PvP or specific gear, is there? There's not supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, we did not test anything like that. The gear we had was pretty, I think, placeholder. It's pretty standard stuff. and I've already said this, but if you weren't here earlier, I chose male versus sort of the more classic cleric stuff because I just wanted to get more up front. So I wanted more health and I wanted more sort of physical related stuff, which was a ton of fun. I'm amazed at how many people actually want to be a sort of a battle priest, battle cleric.
Battle Priest is the classic D&D cleric. It's just in MMORPGs that has changed.
Yeah, I've just had a lot of messages like, "Hey, it was great hearing you talk about this. Like, this is what I want to do." Um, it's things are in a really, really good spot. They really are. And this is alpha.
And
I know Stephen. If Stephen wants us to mention this, and it's very true, it's still alpha. So there are still things. There's a lot of work to be done. But we're in a really good spot right now, and I want to communicate that more than anything. I have no doubt we will get to the target that Stephen has set for Alpha 2. Keeping in mind, it's an alpha, so there will be issues.
yeah, it's a very low
Um,
bar target. They better be able to hit that. My goodness.
but I am ready to get all of you in there with me. These are some really fun things to do. So, yeah. Again, Stephen, I owe you for calling me out on stream. My death. I really did get pinged, like literally 20 pings.
You owe him or you owe him?
I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, am I now? I don't know. Maybe I don't know, Stephen. Maybe you actually gave me some street cred. I don't know. That's a good question. We'll 1v1 sometime.
Um,
Go ahead.
so I did want to say that, and I said it in chat, but I did really love, I think the thing that I liked the best of the demo were the mayor buffs. Kind of just the even idea of them, but also the execution of them seemed really cool and awesome. Something I was not really expecting. Like maybe I thought that okay, you're riding on the dragon, and so you're on the dragon, so you might do a breath weapon or something like that. But he had a couple of other nice buffs that he was able to give out, and those
Yeah.
looked really cool and great.
And very helpful. I mean, and again, that's stuff that's going to continue to be iterated on. The dragons were fun. I have to tell you. Like I said, I think I counted. I've still not been able to get through the whole stream. I've been just chatting too many places with too many different people. I was able to get through the gameplay. I think I died 3 times, and one of them was to that dragon. So certainly, if you aim it correctly, and you have people, I want to say it knocked a quarter of my bar off of health. I'd have to go back and look, but that was sort of on average what it took off my health, maybe half. If you hit it right, like you're going to kill a group of people, no doubt, or at least stun them, and then your players can come in and sort of finish them off. If it wasn't really at a place where a lot of the people were low health, it honestly wasn't that hard to heal through. Like once my stun wore off, like it was a pretty easy mass heal. I'm sure that will get tweaked with time. I'm even curious just to see what else they add on to these mounts. It'll be a lot of fun. The mounts you could target. We weren't supposed to, so you could kill the flying mount. We weren't supposed to. Miraleth, some of them tried killing Margaret's mount, but cheaters. So
I think in EverQuest Next there was an ability called something like unenchant, and I was hoping to be like max that, so I would be like an arch unenchanter, like the person you'd go into the like you can make a region of non-magic or something like that, dispel magic, and I was hoping to master that, so I would just go into places and dispel all the magic that's in that area. And it would be really cool if you could build a character that is focused just on killing the mayor's dragon. Like that's what they excel
yeah,
at.
there's a question there from Crow3. None of the dragons died. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, I mean it is interesting. I will say I think some of the players, I don't think they were supposed to, but they jumped on one of the dragons, and I think they were told to get off. So certainly there was the ability to get on, but again, this is all alpha, so I don't know if any of that's actually like intent, if there's intent there or not. Obviously, it's supposed to just be the mayor, but yeah.
Mhm.
What other questions y'all have? I can keep going. I got time. So
Oh, it sounded like you were trying to wrap up.
oh no,
Um,
I'm
I'm
good.
good, 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 good. Okay.
Um, again, the performance was night and day, start to end. That was great. And I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. The
How
next
many people were there? How many people were there? What was it like?
we 70-ish, I believe.
I mean, 35 versus 35 or 70 versus 70?
I mean, there were some people that would like log out or drop. So I think at one time I counted like 35 for us, maybe 34 for or 33 for
Okay.
them.
Mhm,
But it wasn't like huge differences. I think the caravan had fairly large differences in numbers.
mhm,
I don't know. But this was really pretty even.
mhm,
No bad and crazy lag. To start with, yes, the first few tests were painful. More so, and I think Fupa would agree, more so um, memory issues than anything, memory leak. But um, this team is just really solid on getting things fixed. I mean, really, by test 6, like I said, the only thing that really sticks out was when I would res back at the camp. There would be a little bit of delay and um, some lag catching in, putting me back in the world. But uh, other than that, it ran very well. So, how would you
uh,
compare the combat to current MMO standards? I mean, the movement feels really good. I think you have to take that into account. This was one of the first, I think the first question Narc asked me was like 80, 80, 80. Like, what is the movement like? Diggs, if you aren't sure, that's just where you're, tapping left, right, like is your character, what's the movement like? Is there inertia, is it like New World? Do you have inertia? Do you,
oh,
what
AD,
is,
AD,
yeah.
AD. Okay, I got you.
And it feels really good. Like it really does feel good. Yeah, 80, 80, 80. So I think really combat, you got to first start with just how it feels moving, and it feels really good moving. Especially, a lot of the climbing mechanics and trying to find positions. I think you saw that with some of the rangers, like climbing buildings and getting into certain positions. So all of that movement also feels really good. The combat itself, again, also, and it feels intentional. There was no lag. Um, I wasn't like banging my head against the desk because I'm trying to, hit somebody and I push a button and it takes a while. Like it felt very responsive. So yeah, DLSS and FrameGen on 4X. Yeah, that was. I agree, Fupo. I turned that on the last test. I test 5. I was actually late to. Um, the timing did not allow me to get back from work in time, and so I was late getting in. So I actually didn't even turn on DL. But test 6, I turned on DLSS, and yes, frame rate was dramatically better. Of course, those are 4X cards, which not everybody has, but that certainly helped quite a bit. Come on, Diggs, you're supposed to be interviewing me. By the way, I hope
No,
people see I'm not an asshole.
it's
Is
in the
that,
chat. It's in the chat.
what's
You've
in the
got
chat?
questions in the chat. You've got questions in
How
the
do you
chat.
feel?
What about
Well, God damn it, read them off.
FSR 3.0? Yeah,
How,
sorry.
no, I'm just kidding. How do you feel? Let's see, what is that? How do you feel the dot heavy class would compete in the current PV? Oh, that's a great class. I don't know because we don't really have that. Well, I mean, some of the cleric is a over time. Um, that is a super good question.
We
I
might
don't even,
need a new, different class like a summoner or a bard or something else or a rogue to know that,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I think it would implement a very fun component. If you could actually just infiltrate. We were talking about this. The rogue we were talking about placement, because I think I mentioned before the fighter not really knowing where it should be. Should they be up front? Should they be trying to get to the back? Obviously, a rogue's probably going to be in the back, right? They're going to be sneaking in and trying to take out your casters and take out your healers that are back there. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, yeah, applying a lot of dots. That would be pretty crazy to try to heal, depending on how you spec'd. Or whether there were any sort of ability to cure or clear things. That's a good question. You know, the big unknown here about how all this works, I mentioned mana was kind of an issue. Initially, that was actually one of my feedback in the early tests was I felt like mana was just really hard to come by. I would run out very quickly. Now, Blessed Weapon really helps that. So if you put Blessed Weapon on the right person, it actually helps tremendously. But I still had times where I had to sit. So, you know, I didn't think they were excessive and I didn't have to sit for long. But we're kind of at a point like how to, you know, giving feedback further on that. Well, until we have the Bard, it's you know, hard to say where that mana region's actually going to sit. I could see a Bard actually making that feel much better. I don't know that I would want it to be like endless mana though. So I feel like there should still be some sort of a need for the player to actually monitor what their character's doing. So
There
yeah, you
was
think
a
it's go ahead.
FSR question.
Oh
There
yeah, that
was.
was yeah. I didn't utilize that, so
Okay.
yeah. Same answer as Fupo. There was a version. I'm unsure which it was. Yeah. Yeah, I can't really answer that unfortunately. What was this about mana? I think it's good to struggle with mana. Yeah, I mean that was important. You know, the Blessed Weapon, for example, was really important on how you used it. If you used it wrong, like it did nothing to help you.
Does sitting make mana increase faster?
Yes. It's your typical. It's. I love it. Right. It's wow. It's not wow. I
I
guess
wouldn't
it's
say
wow.
it's typical. I mean,
EQ.
is it? Yeah, EQ. I was
I
like,
think Fupo agrees with me that we should make everyone have to look at a book. You sit down and you look at a book.
I'm saying that meting. I was like, meting is back. That's crazy. I don't think that happened in World of Warcraft. At least I don't think I sit in World of Warcraft to increase my mana.
Fupo, I think we're
And it
outnumbered here.
really? No. I mean, it's just funny to see. Talk about things being outdated.
What? It's good to read.
No, that's not
It's good to read. Come on now. Actually, we've had a lot of really good conversations about the Bard. I really wish we had tune twisting, but I suspect that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't have actually any knowledge of that. But
Who
anyways.
needs tune twisting when you've got machine guns?
Who has machine guns? We have machine guns? I didn't know that was a weapon type.
You haven't seen the Ranger play?
They don't have machine guns.
Oh yeah, they do.
Ah, you're
That's the
playing on
most
Teak
used-
server. I
most used skill.
I actually with Royer, I created a character on the Teak server. Unfortunately, there are a lot of multi-boxers, and it just really that's actually what drove our conversation. We had a conversation. Was it last week we talked about multi-boxing? I think it was, which was actually driven from trying to get into the EQ progression server. So, you know, you'd sit there and somebody run with like 4 characters running behind them with stupid ass names and clearly on auto follow. I would ask Steven for the ability to identify people who clearly are botting that way and allow us to kill them free of corruption. So I don't know how you go about doing that, but please look into it. What else can I talk about? What other questions are there? Come on now.
I
know it's Sunday and
it.
people have been answering
about
questions
it?
all weekend, so it's been kind of hard to stay busy. I'd like to see some field siege in these battle made by President. Yeah, I mean, you know, what did everybody think as far as being territory control? This was actually another question that came up, which I thought was interesting. Is how did it feel like there was purpose? When we have a territory control event like this, our player is going to actually want to participate. Um, which I think is an interesting question. Is it enough that the winning side gets the node experience and a luck buff, or should there be a greater reason for us doing this? I would actually love to see it set up in a way where you actually temporarily really lost control of that land, like Miraleth, like the borders. I think you saw when Steven opened his map, he had a line right running through the two nodes, and that sort of showed where the war was. Like, I would like to see, as Miraleth won there, that line actually shift and they actually take over part of that land. That there's an effect there that makes us feel like we've actually changed something within the world a little bit. Perfect. Temporary loss of land. Thank you,
Yeah,
Stephen.
I think what we didn't see in the demo, or at least I didn't see in the demo, which might have been nice, and maybe it's not going to be ready for A2. I can't remember what Steven said about it. I think I would like to have seen more about, because I think I do remember him saying it's coming. I would like to have seen more about the kinds of reputation hits that allow the mayor to initiate the node war. What are the types of things that we can do to decrease our reputation? And it was interesting that he mentioned that rumors can start dropping, and maybe your spies might start telling you, oh, maybe you even hear that you're maybe you don't know that your reputation is going down, but you start hearing that maybe it is, and then trying to figure out what you can do to raise your reputation if you wanted to raise your reputation on the diplomatic side. So I would like to see what kinds of things you could do. And then if it's you, Phantom, what kind of things might you want to do in order to um, do a reputation hit purposefully?
I don't know. I've always talked about sort of eco warfare. Like, how does that play in here, right? Taking all their all their
Land
resources.
management.
Yeah, taking all their trees, taking all their rubies, taking all their emeralds. Hey, Planendorf, thank you for joining. Everybody's giving you props on your gameplay. I'm still gonna find you one day. I was unable to kill him. I don't know. That's a great question. There's still so much to LOL. Still so much to figure out. I don't know. Yeah, elite healer. That is very true. That is very true. I need to learn from him. Um, anyway, sorry. I'm starting to go into my thoughts about what I want in a healer, and that's not answering your question. So, um, I don't know. Again, I'm curious to see how the systems come in place of what not only drives a node to want to declare war, like what do they get out of, what do the citizens get out of it? Like, what tangible benefits that makes them want to go do this? But also, um, what is it about these wars that the citizens that currently own the land make them not want to lose it? Like, I think that was kind of unclear with Highwayman Hills. Like, what's the reason, for Winstead to like throw themselves out there to keep a hold of this land? Um, so
Well, and I think also, what would it be? What would drive the citizens to, when they hear that the mayor might want to declare war? What would make the citizens try and work against the mayor so that they didn't go to war? Um, they're working against their own mayor because they'd rather maintain peace. We did hear a little bit more, and I mentioned that the last time, about the counselors, I think. So I think it's not just the citizens themselves, but probably the mayor's council will also have some input on whether or not the mayor will actually get to a place where he can declare war, or they can declare war.
Yeah, and sorry, I missed this. Mag mentioned they talked about spawning a raid. Only your node can do some things for reasons. Yeah, and that would be great. Or a new dungeon, something that you actually get to go explore, or maybe there is a some sort of resource there that is incredibly important. I think that's another way to look. Because also I think you have to have a reason for Winstead to not want to lose it.
Wait a second, I gotta interrupt. That bulletin board is triggering me. Battle Pass form.
Do
Anyway,
what?
keep going. That bulletin board that just went away is triggering me because we've been talking about that. Niker and I have been arguing about
Yeah, I
that
don't
in
really
the
want to get
Battle
into the
Pass
battle
forums.
pass discussion.
I'm just saying, you showed it on the screen, so I'm mentioning. Go back to what you were saying.
I mean, I think you already have like 15 pages
I
of
know,
battle pass
18,
discussion. So
18, and it's growing. Keep going.
I was just saying, like, again, what are the motivations? I think having take notes, add more boards. I don't think you want to jump into this whole battle pass board discussion, would be my recommendation, Stephen. Yeah, are we going to get battle passes? Yeah, you could actually end. How long's that conversation been going for now? You could actually very easily currently end like a 20-page forum discussion between three people, about whether there's going to be battle passes. Oh, there you go. Going to personalize a battle pass for Diggs. All right. All right. Only for Diggs, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have a wonderful idea, Stephen. I plan to use my name and NPC to enshrine Diggs forever. Um, for fun, make that character be the source of a battle pass. That's where you have to turn your quests in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's Neuro. Thanks for joining. That's good to see you here, Neuro. Yeah, the character will be the town crier placed adjacent to two boards. Yes. Please. I will beg if I have to. That would be fucking hilarious. So, but yeah, I'm just super excited about where this is going to go. Again, tempering expectations. Yes, 100% dedication to trolling his friends. Yes, that is true. You have not, Diggs, I love you, but he has not had to spend 10 years with you on a show. So, yes, I'm going to troll Diggs. That is going to happen. We once had 48 hours of talking about dumbass pancake batter, which I won't get back into. Yeah, just have him on a Stufferton. That would be, yes, that would be next level. But like I was saying, I am, we talk about Doomium and Copium, like this should be a lot of Hopium. Things really improved. I mean, hats off to the team, like the listening to feedback, not just the improvements in client side and server side stuff, but just the way the event ran, the way it was laid out. I was very much impressed with how this is done. I've been talking for quite a while that how you run tests matters. It's not enough just to say, here, log in for a week and go do stuff. Like actually having us actively figure things out, I think was super important. So, I'm looking forward to the future.
Focus gameplay can be very nice, kind of like a battle pass.
This is focused testing. We're done with battle passes, Diggs. We've moved on from
I'm
battle
just
passes.
saying, having somebody help you decide what you're going to do at any given time, what do I want to do right now? Hey, where should I be looking right now? It's kind of nice to have some dev input on that from time to time.
Rocky, I am concerned about being so close to A2, and they never tested with over 200 players on the server.
What? You are tardy to the party.
I mean, yeah, it's an alpha. What did you say? You did all that testing without?
Yeah, without testing 200 people on the server. We did that, what, 5 years ago? We did that 5 years ago. Oh, okay. Not on UE5. Okay, that's gonna make a big difference.
Well, Steven has
All right.
said the next live stream will be a tech one. So maybe you should ask him what's going to be in it, if they're willing to say yet. You know, I understand the concern. I mean, you're right. We were in there with, like, what I say, 70 people.
Oh.
Um,
Hmm.
you know, and yeah, there you have 100,000 plus people waiting to get into A2. I understand. But you know, they'll figure it out. They're gonna, you know, there will be problems, like 100%.
Yeah, it's an alpha.
100%. Like
Uh,
I don't know that we're going to be able to log in for a week while they figure it out. I mean, that might be an exaggeration, but
that's the
uh,
whole point of testing an alpha is finding the bugs, and like the large ones for an alpha and the beginning of an alpha. It's testing, not playing. Did you try action camera? Mags wants to know. Did you try action camera?
I did not. Again, I was in this weird spot with trying to make a battle priest work. So no, I did not. Battle cleric. You know, I've heard mixed stuff with it. You know, um, I don't really get into that argument. This is going to drive some people nuts because they're going to think I'm a terrible tester. But you know, I'm very much a yeah. As people said that, and that's what I heard too. So he says he played action camera most the entire time on tank and loved it, and that has been um, what, as I think has been generally said amongst people who actually did try the action camera in the tank. Um, you know, as a priest, I don't know. I don't know that I We'll see. I mean, I guess it depends
Oh,
on exactly what I can spec into, and those are the things that are still unknown. But the things that I look really forward to is just yeah, the augments and the enchants and different weapon types eventually, and how does that affect my ability to be up front? I could certainly see a scenario where I would want to probably go into an action base because most of my targeting is really the other team, right? I'm not really targeting my own raid members because I've spec'd into um, AoE heals, and that was the intent there, right? I was like, okay, I don't if I'm trying to beat Fupo's head in, like I don't necessarily want to also have to then kind of pop off and go heal Anduin and go heal all these people that are sitting up there with me. And so that was the rationale with speccing into more AoE heals so that I could still help keep them up, but while at the same time focusing on the person in front of me. So, but I mean, I could see a use for action. I just didn't go that route. So,
yeah, that was the nice thing about Hallowed Ground in A1. It was a large AoE that lasted for a while and did damage to enemies in that location while you were healing your allies. So yeah, I can see if you're really trying to maximize that
cleric,
with your
sorry.
group, AoEs would be good. I have one thing really quickly. What was it? Somebody said something really quickly and now I forgot. So go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a comment. Oh God, where'd it go? Cleric needs more
I know
mobility.
this.
I mean, I guess that depends on the way you look at it. Like, if you see me when I'm not dying to Steven, um, like I'm running up there. I mean, I'm doing my thing. Of course, I spec that way. But you're right. I mean, if I go to cast Smite, for example, um, you know, that slowed me down quite a bit. So I wasn't necessarily using Smite on cooldown. I was using Smite more so when a target was running away from me because I wasn't really going to be able to reach them in a melee uh, range. And so as they ran, I would then try to throw a smite on them. But it does significantly slow down your movement. I had another one. I'm looking it up because I'm terrible at remembering words. Um, Judgment. Isn't
Mm.
that's just the doctor you want, right? The one that can't remember words. Um, Judgment was another one. So the judgment, you can heal at an ally, or you can do radiant damage to an enemy, which also then applies burning. So I actually did try speccing into that and using it pretty regularly, but I had to. It's even slower. Like the cast time on it was even worse than Smite, and so it really felt like I'm not really using this. I would maybe use it if if we were in the middle of a large battle and there was someone I was specifically trying to target that wasn't necessarily running, but they were off to the side and I wasn't going to be able to reach them. Then I might try to cast it. But it was one that certainly it was slow cast time and it did slow you down. And really being up front, I need to be able to move back and forth, right? That's the whole point. That is how I got picked off. That's how I know the tank wall is a good spell, a good ability, because I got trapped several times in between me and my raid with a wall right in between us. And I'm just like, there's 10 people trying to kill me and no help. So how are the mana costs? Mana was for me was a little bit of an issue. But again, I spec differently, right? So I didn't have. I traded off some mana regen and stuff like that, mana pool size, types of stats for more health and other things that allowed me to be upfront. So I don't know that I'm an accurate example. I think most of the other clerics and your mages, I think they generally felt like mana was probably in a good place, is what the sense that I got. But again, when it comes to mana, it's really unknown until we have bards. So
Did you notice if you had did Cleric have any essence weapons like the whip of castigation that was in Alpha 1?
we had it.
Essence,
No,
essence weapons.
no, I don't. I don't believe we had. I think that was left in Alpha 1. So
Okay. And then so Rocky had the question about I think he was talking he was saying that um we need to test more than 200 people before Alpha 2, which sounds to me like they're saying we need to have spot testing before Alpha 2. And according to Discord a few days ago, when people could no longer type in the spot testing channel for Discord, it looks like maybe they're doing some stuff with spot testing. Maybe they're prepping for that. No, just a rumor.
I mean, are you
There was a
asking me
little
a
glitch
question?
there.
I don't know. Are you just
I'm not
like,
asking you a question. Steven's in the chat, so I don't have to ask you the question.
well, don't say
I'm
that. It
just
makes
saying,
it sound like I'll answer it when he's not in the chat.
I'm just saying that there is some spot testing that could be happening.
Yeah, no, as Fupo said, it was actually just a bug. So
Yeah.
because there were actually I believe there were people that had long had abilities to tat that all of a sudden couldn't. It was just something that
Yeah.
had come up. So I know
That was fun.
nothing. I know nothing more than you know when it comes to things like third quarter and all these other things. So
Yeah.
I am only allowed to talk under Node Wars 1 through 6. So what do you all so you watch these events? I'm curious what everyone thinks about replayability. Like you see something like this, is this something that you would want to do regularly, like in a battleground approach, or is this something that you hope is sort of a mix of maybe 20 other things and it sort of comes around every so often?
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care.
I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff anyway. So, but seems fine. I like, again, to me, that seems like it's objective based PvP, and I like objective based PvP. I'm just not going to be doing any killing in ashes.
Yeah, so there's kind of 20 other things with this every so often, and then also looks incredibly replayable. I was trying to think of myself, like when I was, going from node 1 to 6, or sorry, test 1 to 6, like, was there any point where it was like, kind of like, oh, this again, this again? There really wasn't. Dang.
Another one?
Tangents of Creation rating us. Hello, everybody.
That
We're over
means
here
we
having
gotta
a good
stay
time.
going for at least another half hour.
Wow. Jamie and Annie, y'all are wonderful.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much. Wow, that's a lot of raid, a lot of first-time chatters.
Mhm.
We are the Ashen Forge. We are typically two. We're typically three people. Neuro is in chat. He just was not able to join us on cam. Look at all those wonderful, beautiful people. There's Chibi and Vertec. I'll be with Chibi tomorrow, like I said. We will be live with Richie, SH, and Rive Genesis. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'll actually be with Jamie and Annie. I think Tuesday on Tangents of Creation. We're going to keep beating this dead horse to figure out what else we can talk about. I feel like I've been talking forever. It's been a lot of fun, though. Wow, we're over 100 too. Guys, this is crazy. We appreciate
Mhm.
every single one of you. This community is amazing. I want to stop and maybe I've had a little bit too much of this bourbon, but this community is freaking amazing. All of you. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've been through the EverQuest Next community, the Chronicles of Valeria community. Every single one of them is a little bit different. I personally, I think the Ashes of Creation community blows them all away. This has been an amazing time. So, and we were all almost there. So, sorry, Diggs, you were going to say something. I completely interrupted you. So,
I
to
don't
everyone
think
that just
so.
joined us, I'm just kind of free answering questions, and we're actually slowing down. And I have some time. So, if y'all have any other questions that you're coming in with. Although I think you all probably just got done talking to a cleric, so you might not have many questions for the I played.
No, I think what I was saying is we got to
Wait.
go for at least another half hour because we
There's
have all
still
these people here. We can't
there.
leave.
Phantom X is drinking heavily because he got killed by Steven. That is not the truth, but I will go with that. I mean, I think that's a good reason. So, um, we also did get Steven to confirm to us in chat that Diggs will be given his own personal battle pass. So I think we can turn off I don't know if we can talk to Vaknar tomorrow and have him shut down that thread, but I think we're at a point now that we've had a final answer. We can quit with that thread. So that's actually why he died, because he was drinking heavily. No, I was not drinking on the job. Thank you.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something nice about the community. One thing that was kind of cool for me in Alpha 1 with the sieges is that it's kind of fun being in these tests with all these people we know, like Neror and Fupo, and then it makes it so you don't really care who wins or loses. It's just fun. I would see people
No, I
winning
still care.
the siege, and I'd be like, no, but it's still cool that my friend is winning. That's okay.
They're
I
gonna
think it's
they're
okay.
gonna take all your gold. Why is that cool? That's one of the
Oh,
plans.
I mean, I'm non-competitive and don't care about gold, so um,
And you will be playing. We're gonna throw that out there. So
I will be exploring. I won't be doing any sieges or node wars or any killing whatsoever.
Diggs's beard is a buff in itself. I'm trying to get there with mine. I'm working on it. It's taking a minute. So I don't know that I'll ever get to braid it, but tell us about your choices for the cleric spec. Chibi did the range cleric. Yeah. So I did battle. Well, I don't think it's officially called the battle cleric, but I chose to specifically be upfront with the tanks. So that did 100% necessitate several changes. The skill tree 100% spec'd into more AoE heals. I did have a little bit of self stuff, but more so AoE heals so that I would not have to worry about targeting the people sitting next to me on that front line. I didn't want to have to sort of jump back and forth between opponent and friend. So AoE heals was sort of the approach I took. And the other significant difference probably was the armor I chose. So I did trade off, mana. My mana pool was probably smaller, mana regen. So I did trade off some of those things in order to get more health and get more physical stuff. Because I was up there swinging away. It was a mix of swinging with my weapon and sort of smites. There was also another spell which was wonderful for what I was doing. Consecrating Wave. So that sends a um, cone that does radiant damage to your enemies, but also then heals the 10 nearest allies. So that worked perfectly for what I was trying to go for. Super excited to try to like further expand upon this once we know more stuff. There was did you cleric fighter? We don't have augments, so I was a cleric. Did my best, I guess, to become a cleric fighter, cleric tank, but certainly that was self-driven. Luper's is a tough raid boss. She is wonderful. We had between Margaret and Z, again, the story of Winstead. I've already told it for those of you who weren't here. I told a little small story. Z was amazing. 100%. If your team knows how to call out what to do, you're going to go far, 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 far. See you, Planendorf. Appreciate. I've done a lot of chatting with him today too. It's been great. This weekend's just been nuts, man. You can feel it. You really can. You can feel all the positivity. It's a lot of fun. So you stole Margaret. She was my healer for the first test. That is true. Winstead did not have her at the beginning. You were still the enemy, Fupo, though. So sorry. Yes, bespoke with Doc Burns. Yeah, I did that. That was funny too, because actually I had done that. I had a mini panic moment. Sorry, these are like little side stories. I'm still answering questions if you have any. I had done that.
Good.
I had done that with Doc. Gosh, probably like 4 or 5 weeks before it was released, because he interviews a lot of people and then he has to edit it down by question and stuff. But in between me speaking with him and joining PI, because I've only been on PI for not even 3 months yet. I think it's like 2.5 months. But in between me recording that and actually joining PI and it being published, I joined PI, and I had this like panic, like, oh shit, like they're gonna think I'm spilling beans. Like I talked to him. I didn't even remember what I said to him for most of it. We just chatted, and so I had to message Margaret, and I'm like, look, I just need you to know that this happened at this date, and sorry. So it was all good. Actually, she misunderstood me to begin with and was like, well, that's a problem. I'm like, oh shit. But then I explained it better. So how exactly did you get into PI at this late date? At this point, even still, anyone that joined Kickstarter could join PI. You can upgrade. So if you have a Kickstarter package, you can upgrade if you want to. I heard this, I think it was Anduin said this, and I actually kind of agree, because people ask me the same thing, like, I joined 5 months before Alpha 2. And like, why now? Like, you're so close to Alpha 2. It's something I had considered for quite a long time, but we've done the Ashen Forge for so long. I was worried, like how restrictive that would make me on the show. And it has been. I've kind of gone into more of a mode of like asking questions of Diggs and Neuro than sort of speaking. But I'm happy I did. But yeah, if you at this point, we're a month away from third quarter. I don't know. I also think there will be longer term benefits. So I'm not disappointed by any means. But lifetime sub, easy upgrade. Yes. That is one of the best purchases I think I had ever made. Diggs, you were a lifetime sub too, right?
Yeah, and Euro did not do Kickstarter. Is that right?
I do not remember, actually. He didn't. Yeah, that's one that because I see.
He did. He said he did Kickstarter. Okay.
Yeah, so I see Ashes. I say it's my retirement game. The joke, of course, is Steven, please get it out before I actually retire. But so it was sort of a no-brainer. And yes, I always put this out there. I always say this. I was backer number 3. I don't know who backer numbers 1 and 2 are. I would love to meet them, but I was backer number 3. So I was on that shit. I was ready to go. I had started hearing Steven talk back in 2016. So we were all set to go. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've actually got to talk to him. For those of you who haven't really seen us before, we've talked to Steven 3 times. Working on a 4th. So if you have some free time, Steven, if you're still in chat, would love to chat
Well,
again.
we would not mind having someone like Ombwa or Snipe Hunter on if Steven is too busy.
Yes, I mean that is true. I specifically also really want to talk to the narrative people. I mean you do too, obviously, but speaking for me, I would love to have Ombwa on. I'm almost more so interested in I'm really curious, like how do you create lore and all of this story progression in a setting where it might not get seen. Like how do you even begin to go about doing that, right? You're raising your eyebrow, but I mean if depending on
I
how
think
a
it's going
node
to be
levels.
seen on some server somewhere.
Well, I mean that would be the hope, but I'm just really curious how that works. The other thing I'm really curious how you tie in on a narrative level is how you want to do, let's say, a new DLC or an expansion or something. Like how do you give that to every server when they're all at different points? Like that is another thing that I really want to learn. Like how do they do that? Like what's their approach? But yeah, up to this point, I think understandably there's the concern the lore is being held very close to the chest. And so they haven't really wanted us to talk to any of the narrative people. Get that? Promise you I would not ask questions related to lore. Well, I would even let you see the questions ahead of time if you asked. So all right. What other for those of you who joined, I know this has been probably a weekend full of hearing people answer questions, so I don't know how much is left there. What is your desired race and class combo? I don't know if that's directed to me. 100% cleric, probably with a fighter or tank. Secondary. I loved playing Templar as an EverQuest 2, which was very much an up in your face sort of damage process. And I'm not saying I don't want to be an OP healer. I'm not looking for a cleric that can go like 1v1 everyone. But I do think it's possible and it's beneficial to have one that can. I always say the stats I had for that last test 6 that was on the stream, I got 8 I think I had like 8 deaths, 8 kills, and like 42 assists. So that assist rate is really where it becomes, I think it starts to shine through. And then it was something like 12,000 damage and 70,000 healing. So again, that assist on the combat side, which the damage wasn't huge, but it certainly helped. And then the heals are up there up front. So some are going to be an A2 launch or no. They have said no. Thoughts on the conviction cleric mechanic? Don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to read through all these questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I just lost my place. Templar was pretty decent in EQ. Yeah, the Templar was a lot of fun. Warden was pretty good too, but we won't have any Druid types. So, was it clear where the other archetypes will fit into the node? What? Did it feel like there were obvious gaps where a rogue bard summoner would be awesome? Yeah, no, I would think so. Again, when you start talking about where does each class, where's the role of each class, frontline, backline, sort of bouncing back and forth. I think the rogue 100% is going to be in that backline, right? So you have the, at least in my head, you have the mage that's sort of targeting frontline, maybe some healers in the back. You have the ranger that's going to kind of be mobile, right, and moving back and forth between frontline, backline. You definitely have don't have that one sort of class that really their goal is to sit in the back and just pick people off. So certainly I think the rogue will help that. Bard is just so unknown. Like we don't know enough about Bard. Certainly, hopefully, Bard will help in the mana area. I think everybody at times felt a little mana screwed, so that's certainly where Bards I think will come in and help. Summoner, that's a good question.
But that becomes interesting because you're responding just because you're saying front lines as if it's just the PvP portion, but it's not just the PvP portion, and it's not just even the those single objectives like the God Spike, but there's also the bandits and scholars and all those. Um, it's hard to say who might decide to focus on those instead. And yeah, we'd have to really see what the summoner is going to do. Not just their positioning in terms of lines, but again, lines might not even make a difference because they might not be on the front lines. They might be off doing something else at a different objective. But yeah, we have to see what even the summoner is going to offer. I don't think we even know, really. We have more ideas about Bard and Rogue, but I don't know that we know where Summoner is going to fit in well.
Yeah, Steven's still in the chat, but I don't know if he's still listening because I also had another question that had come up kind of during testing and as I was watching the stream back. And it's this question of whether, we have victory points, right? So is it possible to tie? Or does it just keep going until someone gets 1,000 victory points? Right. So do we have a set number of events? Like, okay, I declare war on you. There's going to be 5 events. Or again, does it just sort of keep going until there is until there's just a clear winner? Because I'd be really curious to see what happens if there was a possibility of a tie. So, could the wall spell be used as a small bridge between terrain?
I don't think you can walk on the wall.
Chibi, I meant more so for like because the channeling of the God Spike was just for this event, right? So there should be a series of events. Like there would have been another one. Like does the war end? Are there continuing to be events until someone reaches 1,000 the required points, or is there a defined number of events that occur upon war declaration? Because we said they've said there's going to be different types of war declarations, right? That you can do. So I'm also curious to see like what that means for these sort of open world events. So yeah, at the end it was like 800 to 300. Yeah, but I think that again was more. Maybe we can clarify, but I think that was more tied to the specific event we were doing. But yes, please, thank you for pointing that out. 500 of the points popped up at the last 10 seconds. Come on now. We earned all 800 of those points. I think I have been the only Winstead person anywhere this whole weekend. Oh no, we had Anduin. That's right. He was on earlier today. Everybody is on. All of the content creators and all of the developers also that have been present this weekend. Everybody is on Miraleth. So yes, Winstead is the way. So
Well, I mean, you finally take the gag off. Of course, everybody's going to start talking.
wait, Vertex. So 250 for Scholar, 250 for Godspike, but we didn't do either of those, and we were still up 800 to you all being 300, right? So I don't know. What do you think about the catch-up mechanics? Because that was something that had come up early in testing, right? When we were, that was some of the, again, we go back to feedback. They listen so well to feedback. I know you all are probably tired of me saying all these wonderful, nice things about Intrepid, but it's true. They listened. And one of the early feedback was, once one team actually got to channeling that Godspike, it was really hard to catch up because all of your effort was really going to be on trying to knock them off. Which also at the time, I guess, was a pain because you had all of these walls that were stunning everyone. But the feedback that was given was, there's really not any opportunity to catch up if you fall behind, and so that's where these um, scholars and some other things that came in, because the scholar, I think if you kill them, like, it slows down the channel, and then you also can get some I think resources and things to turn in. Um, so it sounds like everybody was fairly happy with that. We did not go back to do that, but again, the it was scripted, so it was sort of like the narrative of one team starts to go ahead and the other team pulls ahead and then the other team catches up, and so that's actually where they utilized the when Stephen was, and when they were killing them, the scholars, it was to show you that catch up mechanic so they could catch up. So we didn't actually use it at all, but
It's interesting. I'm watching the footage that's over us right now, and in this section, the speed seems slower than in some other sections. So I'm wondering if in some of the editing they sped some of those scenes up a little bit. I don't know
you
if
mean
it
the
was
video
all
that's
in
playing
real
right now?
time. Uh-huh. I don't know if all of it was in real time or not.
No,
Some
I
of
think
it
it's
could
all
have
real
been
time.
faster.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
it
I mean
really,
in the edit. I mean in the editing. In the
yeah.
editing, that some of it could have been sped up.
No, I don't think so. Maybe, I guess, but again, it varies so much. That's part of what made it so fun too. Is like how you PvP'd was very different based off of who was with you, whether it was in a small group, a large group.
I'm
Um,
just talking about running speed.
well, there's a sprint, so maybe there's probably some periods where they're not sprinting, some they are. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, so, do you feel like your cleric cast times fit the value? Again, I most of the heals that I had, yes, like most of them were, a lot of them were instant, and then they're slow cast times. Again, the damaging stuff felt really slow. But how much do I weave in spells versus trying to just hit you with a mace? I don't know. But I do think smite and some of the others felt kind of slow. Yeah, I don't think it is either. I don't think armor affected running, because there really wasn't like the main thing. Of course, this is all placeholder armor, but it wasn't like if you wore, like, I don't think my movement speed changed wearing mail versus like what Chibi ran in more cloth armor. So it didn't really have that sort of traditional light, medium, heavy approach.
Nero
It was more
mm,
stat based.
Nero has that question about level disparity, I think is what he's asking. And again, there it seems like, so he's asking if those who aren't up to the level of others for the event would still be useful. And again, I think that depends on how you split your activities. Because, if you're having problems on the front lines, maybe you want to go off to the side and take care of some of the bandits or whatever. I mean, I think there's crafting and stuff that we didn't see. So I think there's lots of different stuff that people might be doing once A2 is farther along and they've added more activities to PvP.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so
Hmm.
non-PvPers, certainly they can go out and farm rubies, kill bandits. But again, you do have other roaming groups from the other side. So, you'd probably want to have them protected because they will drop those things upon death. So, it wouldn't be super helpful to send out a bunch of lobies who then go and get, slaughtered, and then you lose all the rubies or the bloods anyways. But for player level wise, yeah, 100%. Again, Steven was level 30. We were all level 15. He had, I think, triple the health. um, he still died a couple of at least once. And that so again, in that scenario, a group of 15s certainly did take down a 30. Now, could a group of 15s help out with a level 40, a level 50? I don't know. We we didn't test that part, but so 100% there seems to be a role for lower levels. And I said this earlier because this was a question on the caravan part 2. You know, what if you have a lower level caravan? Do they just get rolled by high level character? You know, this to me showed that, you know, if you have a well organized caravan, they 100% could take care of a higher level character that's trying to come in. Now, could they take care of, you know, could a level 20 caravan take care of 20 level 40s? Probably not. But you know, if it's just a couple of them, I think you 100% can win, which is nice. So, well, we actually are at 10:09. So, wow, we've been going
2
2 hours,
hours
15
and 10
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Again, I will be, now I'm starting to even cough. I will be with Chibi on Richie and Rive tomorrow, and then with Tangents Tuesday. So there's still a lot of conversations to be had as the week goes on. So I do think siege weapons would play a big role too with the crafting fund. Yeah, I mean, if that gets implemented 100%, because there was also a question of how to implement crafters in these sorts of things. You know, one of those, I should, what?
Siege weapons don't necessarily make a lot of sense for the node wars. The node war objectives are different than sieging, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you want to get into nomenclature. It is, you know, node sieges are not the same as node wars. You don't have to have a node war to start a node siege, but I think just the idea of I don't think saying siege weapons is in the siege. Just I think those sorts of types of weapons that are used in sieges.
Right, but you're doing that to knock down walls and to destroy a node, and that's not the objective in a node war.
Oh, you could 100% flatten a group of people though. Raises the question, can siege weapons be used at all in the open world? That's a great question. You know, I don't know, but I will say everything related to this node war, once the war was completed, went away. So the camps went away. All of that went away. Actually, we had to be careful when we got to the spot. If we got there prior to the war being declared, because there were some bugs where the camp could actually spawn and trap us if we weren't careful. But those things all disappear once the war is done. So. All right. It is late. I do have to work tomorrow. So I think, yes, Vladis Gaming is live. So we are live again. For those of you who have not watched us regularly, we are on every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and always here chatting Ash's Creation. You know, we have our Discord. Actually, I should quickly, well, I can't because we're in this call. Where's the link? I think this still works, but you know, here's our Discord link. Love to chat all the time. I'm probably going to see about actually streaming some more so we can just have these sort of chats from time to time because it's a lot of fun. I like getting to meet everyone here. I also want to say thank you everyone who came in and followed us. Our follow goal has been very, very clearly met. Actually very well exceeded. So thank you all for the support and hanging out with us. And yes, we are going to raid Vladis. So let me get that set up. So we will be here next Sunday, and yeah, we hope to see you all here. And let's make sure. Yep, there's our raid. So everyone have a great week. We will see you next Sunday. Peace.